Hello and welcome to another episode of my YouTube channel show called The Popcorn King. So today we are going to be doing a review of a little film that can really only be called Furiosa. This is the sort of prequel to the Mad Max sequel, which was Mad Max Fury Road. Furiosa is about the character Furiosa, who was in Mad Max Fury Road, and this is sort of her story. So this film is directed by George Miller, the director of all the other Mad Max films. It's starring Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Hemsworth, Tom Burke, and a bunch of other actors that I don't really know what their names are. So I have a few thoughts about this film. It's a prequel, so I have a little bit of an issue with prequels, but not the same issue that other people might have. So some people might say about a prequel that, well, the stakes are all gone because this film is set before Mad Max Fury Road, and I know this character is in Mad Max Fury Road, so I know this character is going to survive whatever sort of issues that she's in. I know where she's going to end up by the end of the film, if you know what I mean. So a lot of people say that is the thing about prequels that they dislike. I disagree with that. I think films, when you know the ending, can still be just as good. For example, I watched Titanic. I know at one point towards the second half of the film that the whole ship is going to sink. Okay? It doesn't matter that it's not a huge surprise for me. The film is still really good. The film is still really exciting. I read the Lord of the Rings books before I watched Lord of the Rings. There wasn't any sort of surprise about the ending of Lord of the Rings. I knew kind of all the things that were going to happen. And even though they changed little bits here and there was nothing about Lord of the Rings that was like, whoa, big twist, big character reveal. No, I like the film for other reasons. I think those Lord of the Rings films are probably the best films ever made. So in the same respect, a prequel can be fine. Like, a prequel should be able to theoretically be fine. Like, okay, I know this character survived. Surely not every single film hinges on whether or not someone's just about to die or not. You know, like, there's so many films where that never even plays into my mind about whether or not someone dies. So yeah, like, theoretically you should be able to make a good action prequel, and I should be enthralled. And for the most part, this film does enthrall me here and there. I do find it exciting. But what frustrates me about prequels is that there's something within me that once I've seen a character's storyline, I want that storyline to continue moving forward. Like, I'm interested. That's what I'm kind of gagging for. It's what I'm frothing at the gams for. I want this storyline to move forward. I want to know where this character that I met at the beginning of Fury Road, I want to know where she goes next. I want to know what happens next. You know, that's what I'm really interested in. Even if I see any kind of TV show, like Friends, for example, I love Friends. Like, Friends is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. But whenever there's an episode that's like a flashback to sort of young Ross and Rachel, or there's some like long episode which is not going to move our current story forward very much, but maybe shed some light on things about some characters, but really not move the storyline in the direction that we're heading, I get a little bit bored and I just want to sort of fast forward that episode and get on with the episode that's going to move forward. That was one of the things I never really enjoyed about Lost, because we'd be watching this really enthralling story on this island, but then like 50% of every single episode was a huge flashback about what happened before they came on the island. And every time I was like, okay, that's mildly interesting, but for the most part, I want to know what's going to happen next on this island. That's what I'm watching it for. That's what I'm excited for. That's the storyline that I'm invested in. And so for a prequel, I'm just like, okay, this is mildly interesting, but can we see where she goes next? Like, that's what I'm interested in. I want to go with her onto her next journey. And so that always frustrates me about prequels a little bit. I'm like, okay, this is interesting, this is good, but I was already invested. I was like invested in one storyline and I was ready for it to carry on going. But now we've skipped all the way forward. And it's yeah, I find that really frustrating with prequels. Maybe I'm the only one. Maybe it's just me. Maybe you can convince me otherwise. But for the most part, for me, prequels evoke that kind of reaction where I'm like, okay, this is kind of a little bit interesting, but for the most part, no, let's move forward. Um, Secondly, this movie, it's about Furiosa's sort of, her storyline. It starts with her as a kid getting sort of taken away from her home, her land of abundance, as they keep calling it, and I guess the majority of the film is her wanting to get back to that place, even though it's lost to her. And we even know this about her in Mad Max Fury Road. So we do know once she leaves this place, oh, well, she's not making it back to this place even in this film, right? We know she's still looking for it in Mad Max Fury Road. So, so yeah, the whole film, we're following her. It's shot in like a slightly more cartoony way than Mad Max Fury Road. I think they have a new cinematographer in this film. But yeah, like someone will fall into the floor and like be like stuck in like a comically cartoony type of position. And for that reason, that kind of elasticy, sort of bendy, jokey kind of filming reason, it didn't feel as gritty and as enthralling as the Mad Max Fury Road film. Um, I feel like I could sense the CGI a bit more in this film, where Mad Max Fury Road really just felt like George Miller had gone out to the desert for 6 months with a bunch of vehicles and a bunch of stuntmen and filmed this huge long chase scene. This felt like, okay, here's some green screen moments here. There are some good, vehicle action scenes here that I like. But it didn't feel as real to me. The verisimilitude wasn't, hitting on all levels. And then, controversially, the other thing that I gotta say about this film, and it's not because I don't like female led action films. Sorry, female led action films. It's not that I don't. I love female led action films. Like some of my favorite films of all time are Aliens and Terminator 2: Judgment Day. But Anya Taylor-Joy is a very slender, slim, sort of model-looking type of woman, and Charlize Theron was this muscular, wild, sweaty action hero in Mad Max Fury Road. But Anya Taylor-Joy isn't that, and I'm sorry, but if you're gonna get a female-led action film, the physique has to match up, and I would have this exact same issue if they decided to cast Michael Cera as Batman or James Bond. The physique isn't there. Like, I don't care how charming and how much of a good actor Michael Cera is. I would be watching it, and a big giant sense of disbelief would be coming over me, because I would be like, well, he doesn't look like he could ever physically fight anyone who he's fighting. He can't fight Bane. And like, I get that kind of sense of Anya Taylor-Joy, and I'm sorry, but it's like, man, even in the trailers, I'm a little bit like, I don't know how believable she is as the action hero. I mean, she's a great actress. Loved her in Queen's Gambit. I think, she does the absolute best she can with acting ability alone, but you've got to have that physicality as well. You can't just be a great actor. You've got to have that physicality. You've got to embody the character, You've got to get to training. And I'm sure she did loads of training and tried to get as muscular as she can, but that's just her body build. Like, it's just really sort of slender and petite and little. And yeah, I'm sorry, it didn't sort of evoke the same emotions that Charlize Theron evoked in me. I was more like, this lady looks kind of dainty sometimes, a little bit. So, and like a bit too beautiful in some instances. Not that that's like an issue, not that that's an issue at all, but Charlize Theron was, she was obviously beautiful as well, but she was sweaty, she was dirty, the shaved head, like she sort of epitomized a big action hero. Like, that's who she seemed like. That's what Sarah O'Connor seems like, sweaty and ferocious, like you don't want to mess with her type of person. Anya Taylor-Joy was just fine, but I would really recommend they keep Charlize Theron in the next one, and keep the story going. That's what I would love if they were ever going to do one. They're probably not, because this film didn't make any money. I wonder why. People don't really want to see a prequel to a film which came out 9 years ago, and that didn't even make that much money, even though it's a cult classic now. But come on, let's just make another Mad Max film, and let's have Charlize Theron, and let's have Tom Hardy again, and let's move forward, and let's have some more great car chases. That's what I want.